Come with me back out to the workshop, of course. I've had a wee bit of a refinement to my gauging rod, my Dremel, if that's the right word, for the track saw positioning. And it is a simplification and I think improvement somewhat over the original design which I've already talked about. And ta-da! What it is a, there you go, is a dowel, threaded dowel that you use for joining furniture. Spin that on, lock it off with a nut. That is the one part of your approach to getting a static measurement. Put another dowel on the other end and lock it off with a knob. Can't be much simpler than that. I'd actually thought about what I was saying, unusual for me, but this was the original design, still good, and still using relatively cheap, small pieces of, well, what would you call it, hardware, and largely they would be free. I'd made mention how I would like to have the facility to drop the gauge, this thing, over the track saw rather than having to only do it on the end like I'm showing here. Now, that being the case, I can, oops, sorry for all the jogging around of the shots, that dowel affords me that extra height that I can use to get over the rib in the track saw. It touches the rubber, the anti-splinter strip there, and you can slide the whole thing across, and I'm pulling it to my right, to my left, until that dowel drops over the edge of the, I'm just doing it very slowly, right there. So now I can use that as my, oops, just go a little bit more, as my gauge to get my saw in the right position for the cuts that I want to make and on a repeated basis. I still think that a round flange like a fender washer would be better in this position, so that it's more stable, you could say, and doesn't matter on the orientation of the rod itself. If you need to get very precise distances, sometimes the rod, this part, the threaded dowel, isn't perfectly aligned, but you can get it down to the fraction of a millimeter, which is a good thing, and without much effort, preferably with two hands of course, you can set your measurement and then repeat it time after time just by hooking it on and moving it out until it just slips over your track, over your panel. So that's, I think, an improvement. I still, as I said, about the washer thing there, the bigger one, a threaded washer, I probably will make up one out of a reasonably good bit of steel, of heavy, 3, 4, 5 mil, something like that, so it can take a thread easy enough, and then see how we go. But how simple, I should put it on something that's a bit more contrasting, but how simple is that for a workshop gauge? I'm not going to say this is an original idea. It is to me, and its simplicity for track saws. And I think the inclusion of some of these are going to be beneficial, because as I said in the first video, they're a static measurement and they're rigid, like hard. Yeah, it's not flexing or anything, so you can make up whatever length you want, and yeah, Use it to your heart's content. In fact, this is the panel that I just trimmed down to 566 plus 1, and that I just put on there, and it's a nice snug fit without any movement left to right. So that is a other way of using it, is actually having something that you want to replicate a measurement. You take this, put it on your track, saw, guide, etc., move it across until it touches the panel and or just slips over, and there you have it. Take it down the other end, do the same thing, which I'm going to do that to this panel here, and then away you go. I'm going to make this one 500. Sorry, I'm going to make this one 500 because that's the width of my miter station that I'm going to be cutting. I'll leave this one up on the shelf until I go to cut the next panel that requires that distance or that measurement. So it's like having a purpose. It's like setup blocks or gauge blocks, but I'm using the threaded rod to achieve a very similar sort of static, rigid method of getting these measurements. I hope you followed that. I hope you followed it because I think this is a really, really good idea, and one that I think I will be making more use of, and hence why I went to the local hardware store and I bought 2 more 6mm rods. Where's the other one gone? Oh, over there. And into my box of tricks, get the components necessary and put them together. Very cheap, 2 rods, $8, there or thereabouts, and it's a lot of a big saving over having to get the parallel arm guides, which, while good, I think this is much more versatile because it's not attached to the rails, and it can be used in different different situations. Stick it up on the shelf, ready for its next panel. Mainly because when you're cutting panels, you may not have access to all of them very handily, so you can put the gauges, whatever you want to call them, Dremels, gauges, on and off as your heart desires. One of the things I did mention is that I would want to make up, pointing camera, make up different ends to it so that I can get into corners to check the diagonals. But if the nut was swapped around to the other side, this would get into the corner and register your measurement accurately. So a round dowel like that, threaded dowel, can be used for butting up to something, hooking over something, or going right into the corner of in my case, a box. The only thing that design, this idea won't achieve is getting the very measurement that you may require from right inside that corner. So that would want a peaked something, and that can be achieved by using a thread adapter or thread joiner or a nut coupler. Just reaching like these, although this is an 8mm one, but that could be put on the rod, a point ground on it, so that it can then go into a corner and you get your exact measurement. So that's not an impossibility. Again, easy enough to do, I suppose, and relatively cheap, almost free. The other thing I did think about, and I should have got them, is that you get smaller versions of this, so they're quite short, and that might be also a good thing to allow the rod to sit down closer to the rib of the track. So that's another option. Of course, just cut one off, so you've got an eccentric length dowel, one of which would be the short one to do exactly what I've just saying. Anyway, there you go. Jolly good idea. I think so. I thought of it. and its actual use. So yeah, quite chuffed with that actually. Well, obviously because I've actually made another one, and you normally only do things more than once when they work for you. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. Happy chappy I am, aren't I? Anyway, no, that was just makes life a little bit easier. Rightio, I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.